public hearing on item A, consider introduction of ordinance 595, amending the Brisbane Municipal Code, section 1722032 for the wireless telecommunications facility. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. The Federal Communications Commission recently adopted rules regulating wireless telecommunication facilities. The city is required to bring our local ordinance into compliance with these regulations. Specifically, the new FCC rules define minor modifications to existing wireless telecommunications facilities and require the city to implement a non-discretionary approval process for such minor modifications. So what you see before you in the red line version and in the ordinance are definitions of what constitutes a minor modification consistent with the FCC regulations, as well as provisions that such minor modifications can be approved via building permit only. The changes do not modify the city's current restrictions on the location of new telecommunication facilities, nor does it change any of our procedures for modifications or new facilities that don't qualify as minor. This amendment was reviewed by the Planning Commission April 9th, 2015, and unanimously recommended for approval. Staff's recommending the introduction of Ordinance 595. That concludes my comments.
Any questions for staff?
Seems pretty straightforward.
I just have one question for staff, if I may, Madam Mayor. In the last paragraph on page 2, it says ordinance's current limitations on location of wireless facilities remains in place. So, like if the city says, no, you can't have a tower near a school, we have the ability to say no to that, correct?
Well, there's standards, in the ordinance itself that are pre-existing. In Section C, it's prohibited within open space districts, all residential districts, and locations within 600 feet from a residential district. So those are the limitations, and those are existing.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And our current towers, are any of those within 600 feet of the proposed residential districts with the new zoning district, the new housing?
That's quite possible with the facility here at City Hall.
And is there, do we know how that would be affected by existing towers? Housing coming in around an existing tower?
Well, again, that's something when those regulations come forward. These regulations speak to locating a new tower, or so again, it's from the zoning district out. It doesn't really, these regulations don't speak to creating residential zoning within so many feet of a tower. That's not what these regulations are doing. They're just specifying how far you have to be from residential districts. So basically it would push the envelope from where facilities might be currently permitted. Any facility that would not comply would be non-conforming if it doesn't meet these regulations at that point.
And the increases can be 10% per year, or 10% per occurrence, or 10% over the life of the tower?
It's over the life.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing, and so I will open it to the public. If there's any members of the public who'd like to speak.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Motion to consider introducing ordinance 595.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And that moves us to new business. Item A, consider authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with MB Consulting for economic development services. And staff report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given the late hour, I'll try to be very quick here. Mitch Bull is here in the audience, and you may want to have some questions for him. This is a consultant contract between the City of Brisbane and MB Consultant for Economic Development Program Services. This is on a initial 6-month period of time for a maximum of 300 hours. Mitch will be working approximately 12 hours a week in this role. He will continue with this role as Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. He will have a working title of Economic Development Director, and we've been working with the Economic Development Subcommittee, and I've identified a few areas that we're going to kind of have the initial work and push on. They're listed in the staff report. They include the Sierra Point Development, Downtown Visitation Task Force, and an ombudsman role in terms of working with potential new businesses that come to the city. We discussed earlier tonight, and I've had discussions with Mitch about the potential of working with the property owner out at Sierra Point on the long plan for a hotel site in the middle of Sierra Point. So that'll be another kind of area of focus at the beginning. There is a scope of work and there is a contract. The city attorney has reviewed the contract. And with that, I'll answer any questions. And again, Mitch is here if you want to have him make a few short comments or maybe long comments on them.
I have no questions.
No questions?
I have questions, yeah, but
Oh.
do you want to hear from Mitch first? Or?
Sure. We can hear from Mitch first.
Madam Mayor, honorable council members, I'm Mitch Bull. I am the proponent of MB Consulting. You have worked with me over the years as CEO and president of the Chamber of Commerce. This is my 25th year of working in the city of Brisbane, both in private and enterprise with Hitachi and then also with the Chamber. And I look forward to hopefully moving forward with this to work with the city, work with each of you and the city staff to promote Brisbane, to strengthen and continue to strengthen and expand our economic base of businesses, and to work with planners to infill where we have approved projects currently. And it basically to give us a vision and work within the council and the city staff to make this vision known to the outside world, the brokers, the regional people, other economic development directors in other cities, as well as entities like the San Mateo Convention and Visitors Bureau, etc. And it's a wonderful opportunity, and it would be an honor and a privilege to work with you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mitch?
Well, I'm kind of wondering, and I guess suppose this is for the people who sort of set up this contract and in conversation with Mitch, why it's only for 6 months. Obviously there's a reason for that, but I don't know. If I were doing it, I'd make it a year, but there must be a reason for the 6 months.
Yeah, that was my decision.
It was your decision.
And my recommendation in that it doesn't tie you to a long-term contract or long-term investment. It also doesn't tie me to a long-term contract and a long-term investment in the respect that my major shareholder, which is my wife,
We all understand.
wants to make sure that I'm not going to spontaneous combust during these 6 months. I have assured her I don't think that's going to be a problem. I have, planned out time to do this. I will have set office hours as well as, free time to do the work. And, I'm pretty sure I can juggle the 12 hours a week in addition to the chamber duties and the other duties I have with the newspaper business that I run.
Okay, so you would, you prefer the 6 months, I take it.
Well, it was a start. When I set this up, I don't want to hold all of you to a year. If you may decide in 6 months you don't want to do something,
Yeah.
so we have an out clause, and you have an out clause, and
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
just,
well,
I think it's fair.
I just brought it up because it seemed to me that it's something that takes a while to get rolling and,
It will.
get the conversations going and get the data collection in place. And 6 months just seems like a kind of a short time for to get that all rolling.
I wrote it that way to basically protect all of you and myself too. But I don't expect it'll be just 6 months.
Yeah, no, I
You know,
hope not.
I expect we'll be successful and everyone will enjoy what we're doing here. And I hope
I
that it
just
goes
wanted
forward.
to find out where that came from and express my view that I wish it were longer, but, you know, if you think it'll work out for you, then, you know, it's all right.
I believe it will, but I also didn't want to have anyone feel I was trying to take advantage of you for a long-term deal.
Yeah, okay.
That was based on my premise.
Not worried about that, at least I'm not worried about that. There was one area that I hope people would be comfortable adding something, and that's within the goals.
Okay.
And there was one thing, I didn't notice anything about green business programs, and so I was going to suggest that maybe in the goals, we could add in something like promote green business program in cooperation with the county, something to that effect.
We can add that. Under business development and retention, I have strive to convert vacancies to newer, greener, and best uses.
Yeah,
But we don't have it as
And
a
I agree
goal.
but I also was thinking about the green business program, you know, the certification program.
Sure.
Which is different.
For LEED certified and,
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
We can add that.
So, and then I have the language, and this may be for the city attorney, under default, 6. I guess I don't really quite understand A and B. It says the failure to make a required payment when due, and I'm assuming that we're not going to be getting any payments from Mitch. It's going to be a payment from the city, and if that's the case, then I suppose we ought to say that, but it seems sort of odd. But and then also, I don't understand the bankruptcy provision either. So I wonder if you would speak to why we have those, why we even have those here.
Typically, the item on A would be if the city, I mean, we're not getting a payment from the other party here, so it would be our failure to make the payment, which probably again isn't likely to occur, but it does give, you know, would be a material default, and you wouldn't have to wait for a 60-day notice to terminate the contract. I think the B part, I'm not sure, again, that the city's not likely to go into bankruptcy or insolvency, and even if Mr. Bowl were that to happen, I don't know that it would make a difference with respect to the services he's being provided to us. So we could take either or both A and B out, quite honestly, and just go with C. I don't think there would be any harm in doing that.
Okay, I'd be more comfortable with that because the A and B don't make much sense to me.
Well, have you ever tried to get a payment out of Stewart?
So Ray, you want to strike A and B and then
I think it
make
makes a
CA?
lot more sense to me, and just make the CA, or just make the C statement that's the
Okay.
basis for default. Either party doesn't live up to the deal, you know?
I'm good with that.
And if Mitch is comfortable with the 6 months, I mean, that's okay, but I'm hoping that, you know, it's just the beginning of a much longer relationship. And I really think this is, you know, really a great idea, and so I'm glad it's finally happening.
Any other comments, questions?
Well, we're not
Sure.
in the subject.
Yeah, we worked on the subject.
Great. Coming from
I have
you all, right?
some comments, but Clark, did you have any questions?
No, I make a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with MB Consulting for economic development services.
Okay.
Slight modifications as agreed.
All right. Well, I have some other potential
Okay,
modifications.
sure. Right.
So first of all, yeah, we worked on this in the Economic Development Subcommittee, and I'm looking forward to working with Mitch. I think he'll be a great addition to the city, wearing the city hat, you know, as he right now is wearing the Chamber of Commerce hat, but, you know, the roles are very related. You know, he's at all of our Economic Development Subcommittee meetings, so, you know, we talk about a lot of these ideas, but he doesn't at this point, you know, up until now, have a lot of, he doesn't always have the resources and the time to really follow through and, you know, start putting these programs in place. And so this will really give him the opportunity to do that. And one thing I had suggested adding, which I don't see here yet, was to, under scope of work, page 2, under goals, you know, to work with the businesses on promoting, local businesses and promoting their online marketing through review sites such as Yelp, because that seems to be, you know, the way that many people find local businesses is by looking on Yelp. And I think it would be helpful if Mitch could, you know, reach out to the businesses, make sure that they're on it and are encouraging their customers to post reviews. That'll help bring business into Brisbane from outside of Brisbane. And then,
Would you really want to put it as a specific Yelp promoting, and that's sort of promoting a different business?
well, I would say online marketing and review sites. I mean, it doesn't have to be Yelp specifically, but that's the one that, you know, I personally use, and I know a lot of other people in the Bay Area use. You know, for example, if you want to get a haircut, you know, you look up where you are and.
Yeah, there's also a lot of very false reviews that go through Yelp, and that's,
Right, I'm not suggesting that the
problem,
city, you know, promote Yelp as a business, but that they encourage
Encourage
local businesses to utilize online marketing,
Or online presence or something like that.
right?
well, this isn't in the contract.
No, this would be under the scope of work. That's the document that's attached to the contract.
Okay,
Because, and then I wanted to ask if Mitch could explain the Brisbane Bucks program. We talked about that in our subcommittee, and I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Brisbane Bucks is something that we started. I started to formulate with the chamber, and it's in its infancy right now. We're going to try to talk to our local merchants and see, one, who would want to be in a program like that, and it would be where residents could buy a coupon, let's say $20 worth of services and goods for $15. The chamber, we are looking at underwriting the additional $5 of that to the 25%, but they'd have to use these coupons at a participating Brisbane business, mostly on visitation, but also at Sierra Point, or anyone else that wants to be in it, and really just drive local citizens to use their local businesses. And see how it goes. It would be a test marketing program, really to drive business into visitation and also into the delis and stuff at Sierra Point.
And would you distribute that to the employees who work in town as well?
We're working on how we would do that, whether they would come through the chamber to buy it. It would be for employees that work in town as well. And how the scope of how large it would be really depends on the chamber and how much we would dedicate to an initial start. And we were, throwing around like $5,000 or something like that. It's not approved yet, but that was our initial talk to see, if we could get enough merchants that want to do this. And you would think that, they should all jump on. That hasn't always been the case. I mean, we've done gift certificates before where I've had merchants that refuse to take them. And, that we have to work out with the merchants.
Yeah, I think that.
But that was our initial start.
Yeah.
To try to promote the downtown
Right.
and center.
And for example, I mean, this is a little bit different, but in South San Francisco, I learned that Genentech actually pays their employees, I think it comes through the city of South San Francisco, money to then, like on a weekly basis, they'll give them a certain amount to kind of give back to spend locally. So, they're actually, the city of South San Francisco is working with their big local companies to make sure that they encourage their employees then to frequent and to shop in town in South San Francisco.
They're also running a shuttle bus from like Genentech into Grand Avenue.
Right.
So
those are all great marketing ideas. But
So a lot of what we talked about with the Crocker Park tap and establishing, I think it was Ray's idea to have a merchants task force on Visitation Avenue. That's one of the items that Mitch would be working on. So.
Yeah, I just want to thank my colleagues, on the council for supporting this, and I mean we've got a great asset in Mitch, and of course he's not leaving the chamber, still doing his job in the chamber, but now we have someone on, from the city, representing the city out in the business community, and meeting with those brokers as an employee of the city, and that's so important. reaching out to new businesses, to bring them here, reaching out to our existing businesses and saying, hey, you're important. We want you to be part of our community and want to try and get you more involved with what we're doing as a city. I mean, it's just, I'm just really glad we've gotten to this point. It took a while. We talked about having an economic development director for a long time, and I don't think we could have chosen a better person than you, Mitch. And you just that little interaction with Ray about why you want to do the 6 months because you're really thinking about us. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, you really care about this community as if you lived here and you want to see us prosper, not just the businesses, but you want to see everyone prosper. And I know that your definition of economic development isn't just building a shopping center or having some large company come to Brisbane, but it's also the community benefit that comes with economic development. And you're right on it. I think you're going to do some great things.
It really is less about building more than it is to really retaining what you have and strengthening the citizen business relationship. Because I mean that's what makes community whole, and it's a lot easier to keep businesses and grow them here than it is to try to refill them when they leave. Right. And that's the main goal. Mm-hmm. And also too, we have projects that are on the books that we just don't have anything going right now, and we're going to try to prod them along a little bit too. So
you talked about, sorry to interrupt, like the CEO breakfast,
right.
To open up the dialogue between, the businesses that are here and find out how we can help them, why they're here, and what would make them stay. So that's one of the ideas he's talking about bringing back. We've had it before where, he puts together a breakfast or a meeting, something that the CEOs of the companies that are here would be interested in coming to the table and really having more of a conversation to talk about their business needs. So I'm looking forward to it.
We're unique in that we have 10 to 12,000 people that come here and work every day that don't live here, but they're still a fabric part of the community in that they have their businesses here. And I'd like to make them feel that we welcome having their businesses here, and we do. And they don't always know that. And that's, and they're not always eager to communicate because they don't know that we care, and we do care, and they just aren't used to communicating. They're running businesses. So we're going to try and see where that goes. That's a difficult one, to be honest.
Great. Well, we look forward to seeing progress reports and hearing good things.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second as amended.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Did we have, you second?
Well, if you didn't have one, I'm happy to.
I'm asking. It's been so long.
He made a motion.
I made a motion, but
Yeah,
You made a motion.
I'm happy to second it.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we have one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.
Okay, this brings us to item B, consider adoption of resolution 2015-13, establishing the business license tax charged to liquid storage facilities under section 5.20.011. Staff report.
Mayor and Council, in November of 2013, the Brisbane voters approved an annual business license tax on persons who are engaged in operating, leasing, supplying, or providing a liquid storage facility within the city. Essentially, it allows the city to impose a maximum business license tax of $115.28 per year for each 1,000 cubic feet of liquid storage capacity. Last year, the council imposed a business license tax of only $38.91 for each 1,000 cubic feet. And as to Kinder Morgan, who is the owner of the largest such facility here in town, that translated to a tax of $135,000. They did pay that tax in December of 2014, but paid it under protest. Although the council has the authority to impose the full amount, $115.28 for each 1,000 cubic feet, which would translate to $400,000 as applied to Kinder Morgan, staff is recommending that the council impose the same rate $38.91 as imposed last year. Staff makes this recommendation based on discussions last year with Kinder Morgan representatives, in which the city indicated it was open to maintaining that same rate for this year as was imposed in 2014. The adoption of the attached resolution will result in a business license tax of $135,000 for 2015 and potentially other tax payments from other liquid storage facilities in Brisbane. The resolution also provides that the amount will be due in July of 2015. That concludes my comments. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for staff?
Motion to adopt resolution number 2015-13, establishing the business license tax charge to liquid storage facilities under section 5.20.011 of the Brisbane Municipal Code.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, could I back to the city attorney, just for further information. I believe we, and you can talk about this, but have been in consultation with the representatives, the legal representatives of Kinder Morgan. And I wonder if you could just say about, okay, so what is our likely exposure here to litigation, and how are we dealing with that?
The city has certainly received correspondence from Kinder Morgan last year, primarily with respect to its position that it feels the business license tax is confiscatory, that there's no reasonable relationship between the amount of the tax and the business that it provides here. That matter has been researched by our firm, and we've concluded that the tax is not confiscatory and that it otherwise would withstand any legal challenges based on the arguments that Kinder Morgan has set forth so far. We've informed both Kinder Morgan of that fact as well as the council, and we remain confident that if Kinder Morgan were to file a legal challenge to this ordinance and to the application of the ordinance to its particular facility, that we'd be able to successfully defend that in court.
Thanks.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have item C, consider amending the utility revenue bonds, and we have several portions of this, and so staff report, please.
Yes. On April 16th, the City Council approved the documents for the sale of utility bonds. At that time, we had talked to S&P, but they had not yet given us a rating. They had asked us questions concerning the drought, as we had reported at that meeting, and the impact of the drought. And after further review by S&P, they had a further question concerning a provision in our existing 2012 bond concerning the acceleration of payments in case of issues like we didn't pay the bond on time, or if we did not get our audit on time, and other types of provisions like that. Their indication was that with that acceleration, they were concerned that, and the acceleration means that the whole amount of the bond would come due at the time of we'd missed the payment or at the time that the audit wasn't turned in timely. S&P was concerned that this would lower our rating that they would give us. As our financial advisor talked to them about it, there's three ways that we could have dealt with this. We could let S&P rate the bond as they would, and it would be lower than what we would expect to get if we did not have this issue. Or we could talk to the bank to see if they would remove that provision from the current documents that we had with them, and they did not want to remove those provisions. Or the third method would be if we wanted to, we would then refund the 2012 bonds as part of the 2015 bonds. We looked at a cost-benefit analysis between the option of refunding the bonds or seeing if S&P just would rate the bonds, the new bonds, lower. And if we were to refund the bonds, the cost to us is approximately $4,000 a year, which is about 8 basis points on a $5 million bond. If S&P was to lower our rating, the difference in that could be 20 basis points, which is 0.2%. And that would be more than $4,000 a year. Staff is recommending that we refund the 2012 debt as part of the 2015. We take out the 2012, we put the money into an escrow account, and we pay the bonds to the City National Bank from the escrow account per the requirements of that bond, so we don't have to worry about those issues. And that's the recommendation from staff, and trying to do this as quickly as I can, knowing what hour this is. If you have questions, more than happy to answer them.
Who wants to start?
You want to go?
All right. I'm sorry, Stuart. I should have talked to you prior to the meeting. So, I'm just a little confused about how refunding the bond, the 2012 bond, then I don't know, it just eliminates that provision, the acceleration provision.
Sure.
So how does that work?
So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the bond size of the 2015 bond from a $5 million bond to an $8 million bond. We will take the $3 million that we would need to pay off City National and put it into an escrow account. So that way the money is available to make the payments to City National when they come due. And because of that, we no longer have to worry about the provisions in that bond because we have the money set aside in an escrow to make the bond payments.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, thank you.
Right?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to follow up on that. An additional explanation. We have, these two documents, namely the escrow deposit and trust agreement dated June 3rd, 2012, and also now what's called the indenture of trust dated June 1st, 2015. Would you kind of talk about, in light of what you just answered to Cliff, those two documents and what they really set up and what they do or have done?
Sure. So the escrow deposit and trust agreement is specifically what I was talking about with Cliff, where we have the money set aside in an escrow account, and it is used to pay off the bond, the 2012 bond. Mm-hmm. The new indenture is, and I need to look at it. I don't have my hard copy, so let me make sure I'm talking about the right one again. So and I'm going to look to Marty as well, who is here to help me. So the indenture of trust is what, my understanding, is what ensures that we are doing this correctly and that we are investing the money within the legal limits to invest it, that it will be used for the repayment of the City National Bank. So you have the escrow agreement, which we work with an escrow company to put it in, and then we have the indenture of trust, which tells us how we're going to make sure that that money is used properly and invested properly.
What do you mean by invested properly?
Well, there are certain limitations when you have a tax exempt bond, and you sell tax exempt bond. That there's only you only have limitations as to how you can invest those funds. You're not able to make arbitrage interest on it. So that's one of the limitations that we need to spell out as to what that money can be invested in, and the types of securities.
Okay. So the amount of the funding here that's involved with the U.S. Bank National Association, as it's called in the documents here, That really just refers to the 2012 amount?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't really know with whom we will be dealing
No, we're
sale of the 5 million new bonds.
we do not. We're going to a competitive sale. So when the competitive sale happens is when we will know who we will be working with. So we will receive bids. Whoever gives us the best bid is who we will do the deal with.
Okay, so in 2012, excuse me, that bank wanted an escrow arrangement, I take it?
Well,
Was that a requirement of their buying the bonds? How did that?
no, so the 2012 was a private placement. We worked with them to work through that deal with them. The reason we're having an escrow agreement now is when we sell the additional bonds, we're going to put it aside to make sure that that's the only purpose it's being used for, is to pay off the existing 2012 bonds.
Okay,
So it's not specifically because of the City National Bank. It's because this is the method that we use to ensure that the money is set aside specifically for that purpose and can't be used for other reasons, such as more capital projects or to balance the utility fund.
yeah, and I understand that. What I was getting at, I think you've hit on it. The way we sold the bonds was different in 2012 than what we're doing now?
We didn't. Oh. Okay.
Good.
Right. But. Right. So, in what we were working with the City National is, and we did it as a private placement with the bank.
Okay.
So there's two different methods on how you sell bonds.
Right.
You can either have a negotiated deal, or you can have a competitive bid.
Okay.
And what we did with City National is we worked with them to develop what was in the best interest of the city at the time. Normally, when you sell a bond in a competitive deal, you're usually looking at certain call provisions, one of which is you usually wait 10 years before bonds are callable. What we were able to do with City National was to have it as a 5-year call, so that way if interest rates had dropped again, we would be able to easily refund those bonds. So that's why we did it as a negotiated deal with City National.
Okay.
What we are now going to do with the larger dollar amount, and usually as you find as you get to larger dollar amounts, there's more interest in the overall market. So it's easier to do a competitive sale versus a private placement or negotiated sale. So yes, they were two different styles that we were using.
Okay. All right. And so the approach we're taking, presumably by responding to the Standard & Poor's suggestions for improving our credit rating, will improve, hopefully, the interest rate that we're likely to see in the competitive sale.
Correct.
And we're hoping that all this different arrangement with the existing bond issue will make a difference that's positive for us.
Correct. So if you were to look at the spread between something like a AA and an A+, you're probably, and I'm going to look to Marty, but you're probably looking at a 25 to 40 basis point differential as you're changing as you become more risky. So what we're looking at is saying this is the analysis that we did, is that if they were to lower our bond rating based on this acceleration provision, which is the indication that they gave us that they were going to do, it would cost us more in interest for the $5 million than we will be paying by putting the City National into the New Deal. By putting City National into the New Deal, there's some additional expenses that we need to take care of. So the cost to us is a little bit more expensive than if we were able to sell the 2015 at the higher credit rating and keep the City National deal. And that cost is about $4,000 on an incremental basis. We would expect to save, if we're able to save 20 basis points on $5 million, that'd be about, somewhere around $10,000 in savings annually. So that's the rationale as to why we think incorporating the 2012 bond into the 2015 bond, putting the difference into the escrow account, paying off City National, getting rid of the acceleration agreement provision, and making it all work
Okay.
is the best interest of the utility ratepayers.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to adopt City Resolution Number 2015-15, amending and restating Resolution Number 2015-11, adopted on April 16, 2015, approving proceedings to finance and refinance improvements to the cities in Guadalupe Valley Municipal Improvement District Combined Water and Wastewater Enterprise.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to adopt Brisbane/GVMID Financing Authority Resolution Number BGVMIDFA 2015-02, amending and restating Resolution Number BGVMIDFA 2015-01, adopted on April 16, 2015, authorizing the issuance and sale of utility revenue bonds to finance and refinance improvements to the cities of Brisbane and Guadalupe Valley Municipal Improvement District Combined Water and Wastewater Enterprise.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So item D, one second, actually, could I get a motion to extend the meeting
So
to
moved.
11?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D.
So this is for the sale of bonds for us to be able to pay for the marina dredging project. The City Council previously went through awarding a contract, approving the contract for $3.6 million on April 16th. You also approved a contract manager contract on March 5th. And then there are dredging permit fees that are included. So the overall cost that we need for the bond is about $4.1 million, including expenses and insurance costs. This will be about $4.2 million. This one, due to the size, which is a little bit on the small side, and because the type of project it is unusual, there aren't very many marinas being dredged out there. We did go through a negotiated sale. We are working with CoBiz Public Financing, who was the company that gave us the lowest proposed interest rate. We are meeting with them on Monday to talk about, to show them the marina, because they actually want to see what kind of project that they're putting their money into. So we're still working with them on that. Their proposal was for 3.02%, which is a good deal. We have gone through the documents, and I can assure you I do not have the same kind of an acceleration provision in this one that we had in the last one, because you learn your lesson as you read through these more and more. So in order to do this project, in order for it to sell the bonds, we need you to adopt resolution 2015-16 and BGVMIDFA 2015-03.
I have one question, Madam Mayor. Stuart, can you explain why GVMID Financing Authority resolutions included in this, even though that's not really a GVMID area, right?
Sure. So this is the conduit financing that we talked about previously, where the entity that sells the bond is the BGVMID is a public financing authority. They're the ones who sell the bond to CoBiz, and then the city, through the Marina Fund, which you've already increased rates for, then pays the financing authority their revenues to the financing authority, then the financing authority turns around and sells it or pays the bond payments.
I'm laughing. It's a good explanation, but
It doesn't quite explain it.
No, it does explain it, but it's we're the board of directors and then also the city council. It's just one of those funny money shuffles. And it's good to explain it because I think looking on it from the outside is a lot of people go, well, why is that included if they're keeping abreast of it?
Besides the nameplate, we should all have different hats up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always interesting, when you're working with bond counsel as to the most efficient way to get through the bond process, to make sure that, that everything is being done according to the IRS rules.
Right.
So can we do these two resolutions as,
Can I ask a question?
of course.
Would you talk a little about CoBiz? It's a company I never heard of.
I'll let Marty do that because he's the one who's been working with them, and I will meet them for the first time on Monday. Sure.
For the record, Marty Johnson with J&A Consulting, a financial advisor of the city. CoBiz is a Colorado business bank. They own Arizona Business Bank. And about 2 years ago, they made the decision to get into municipal lending. And so they have been very active, especially in the California market, in trying to get involved. And so they are the ones that have submitted the best proposal for this transaction. The person that we're dealing with came over from another bank, Western Alliance, that has been active in the California market for, probably 10 to 15 years. And I believe we did the redevelopment deal. I think the successor agency transaction we did with Western Alliance. And so we do know the banker that we are working with, but they're also new to the market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so what do you think about the interest rate that they're offering?
It was the best one that we got.
Uh-huh.
If we could have done this a couple of months ago, it probably would have been a little bit lower, but rates have backed up a little bit. But it's a good rate, and it fits the parameters under which we were looking at the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, as Stuart and I have been talking about this over the last number of months, this fits within those interest rate parameters that we were looking at in terms of the annual debt service that we could afford to pay out of the Marina Fund.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? So do I have a motion?
Okay, motion to adopt City Resolution number 2015-16, approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain installment sale financing documents in connection with the financing of certain improvements to the city's municipal marina and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And motion to approve Brisbane GVMID Financing Authority Resolution number BGVMID-FA 2015-03, approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain installment sale financing documents in connection with the financing of certain improvements to the City of Brisbane's municipal marina and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So we have the city manager's report on upcoming activities. The two status reports have already been done. Is there?
Just real quickly, I'd had a request with regards to what the city will be doing on the drought, and we had already planned to put an item on your May 21st agenda to discuss the city's response and the impact on the community, as well as have a little bit of a conversation about the drought rate or the drought financing issues, and so we'll be doing that on May 21st.
Thank you. And that brings us to mayor council matters, and the county Countywide assignments subcommittee reports. Do we have any reports that council members would like to make?
Yeah, just real briefly. So I attended the Progress Seminar in Monterey, and it was an excellent event. It's like a League of California Cities conference, but for San Mateo County, and yeah, just great topics. Talking about income inequality, and improving transportation, dealing with housing, but just having that collaboration with your fellow council members in the county, and then having that interaction with county agency directors. So it was a great event. Then I went to the ABAG event last night, dealing with the One Bay Area plan, and a lot of housing and transportation related issues, and just trying to educate communities. When I was there, I spoke with the director of public outreach from MTC, and trying to get him to to look at potential funding opportunities for some of the planning things that we would like to do in regards to our housing element, and also the assistant director of ABAG, and perhaps trying to get him to come to Brisbane as well. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Lori?
Sure. So we had Cliff and I had a subcommittee meeting for the Parks and Recreation Liaison Subcommittee, and we talked about the stipend that's received by the Parks and Rec commissioners, because they've had a number of increasing number of subcommittee meetings for Park and Rec, and they're only meeting monthly. There was a request by one of the commissioners for us to reevaluate their stipend, because currently they're paid $50 per regular non-subcommittee meeting. So what we decided was we looked at what the payments were for the other commissions. The other commission that receives the payment is the Planning Commission, and we decided to make it sort of an even playing field, and the most fair thing to do was, rather than base it on number of meetings, was to make it a monthly stipend. And so we recommended that it would be $100 per month for both Park and Rec and Planning Commission. And they seemed, the representative we spoke with seemed to be comfortable with that.
And is that something that needs to come to the city council?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was our recommendation. And then last Friday, there was a talk by Sustainable San Mateo County that Ray and Clay and I attended, and talking about water conservation. They had a representative from Basqua there, and they had some tables set up where people could get information from different vendors about rain barrels, and I thought it was interesting. I talked to a couple of the vendors and learned about how, they have some where you could have like multiple small rain barrels all in a row, and they could be on the side of a house in a narrow alleyway. So there were some products out there that I thought, if and hopefully when it rains again, could be useful for the types of houses we have here in Brisbane, even for smaller residences, that, it's not necessarily a one giant rain barrel. It could be, looks like a couple garbage cans all in a row kind of thing, and it could actually hook up directly to your drip irrigation system. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then a couple of us also attended a talk a week or two ago about Caltrain and their modernization project. And that was interesting to hear about how they're coordinating with the high-speed rail project. And they say they're planning to have their modernization project for Caltrain. So that'll be, basically double the number of trains running on electric trains, on an electric system, no diesel. So it'll decrease their carbon emissions, and they expect that to be in place by 2020. So that was very informative, and that was it.
Yeah. Laura, you just sparked my my mind about a CalMod meeting that I attended, and it was very interesting because it was focused on platform heights, and so Caltrain, they want to do the 25-inch height to aboard the train, and high-speed rail is 50 inches.
Right.
San Francisco wants to have the Transbay terminal be able to only accommodate 50-inch. And so when you look at the other platforms throughout the corridor, it'd be a huge undertaking for the stations to do that. Because not every station is going to have high-speed rail. Only San Jose,
do what Rome does.
Millbrae, and San Francisco. So in San Jose, they've designated 2 areas for one for Caltrain and one for high-speed rail. So they don't need to make any adjustments. In Millbrae, they have enough. They have a footprint that's big enough to build a separate platform for high-speed rail. So then it's San Francisco that's pushing that all the cities that have stations to accommodate for them. So it was really quite a testy meeting, and there's going to be then a special meeting to finalize that. Unfortunately, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm not going to be in town for that special meeting, and I don't know who the alternate is for CalMod, but it's important that we have representation.
When is that meeting? You can get
I
that.
think it's in May.
Okay, maybe let Clay know and he can see who the representative is and see if anyone else is available.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Caltrain representative had talked about that issue about the boarding and the platforms and how they actually had to delay their RFP process for building the trains, right? Because of the discrepancy. But yeah, it's an issue that you don't think about until you kind of get down to the nitty gritty and think about, you got to figure out how people board and can you accommodate it on a single train, maybe 2 types of platforms or 2, maybe stairs that collapse or 2 platforms, as you say.
Yeah, huge cost to accommodate San Francisco if it's done because because the train is so it's bi-level, and so in order to get through the tunnel, it's got to be a certain height. Now, high-speed rail is a single level, so they have high ceilings and it's very spacious and comfortable. Caltrain is a commuter train, so they got to get as many people in there as possible. So because of so you need the 25-inch to have level boarding. If you have the 50-inch, you walk on the train, and then you got to step down to get to your seat. Or you step down to get your seat, walk, and then you take another stairway to get to the top. It's just crazy. But, San Francisco...
That's the key word.
Right.
Why are we wasting our time on this? Because this is just stupid, is what it is.
But, San Francisco would have the actual true level boarding with the 25-inch platform if they had the 2 platforms that are slated for Caltrain at Transbay to be a 25-inch. So, it's, anyways, it's really just nutty. But there you go. I know we're running late.
So
Nothing's changed.
I do have one question for you, Cliff. You were the designate voter for the LAFCO and
Oh, yes. So,
how
Cameron,
did that vote go?
Cameron,
Ray Mueller.
that was our choice, and he won for the
Smecta?
For
A
LAFCO.
position,
for the
and
team.
then
Ray Mueller.
Ray Mueller won for the alternate for LAFCO, and that was our choice, and he won.
Okay, thank you. And
I just wanted to quickly mention one thing that I hope we can agendize a subsequent meeting. Namely, a number of issues came out of the scoping session for ecology. And There were some legal issues that I've noticed, and there were some other things that I thought it might be useful for us to talk about. So all I'm suggesting is that we agendize it in a future meeting.
Hopefully before the NOP is over.
No, that's
The
May
scoping?
13th. I think it's better after the period that people have to submit scopes, which is May 13th. So, the next meeting will be after that. So that'll be something that could even be included. Okay, so where do we get all the scoping suggestions from, kind of thing? This might be of interest to, where we are sort of getting interest in the Recology project from.
Okay, well, we did have the scoping meeting here that
Right.
we talked about briefly earlier in the transportation issues.
Right.
And it was well attended. I think the residents of Little Hollywood put Brisbane residents to shame on getting out to be very vocal about some of the issues that may or may not be relevant to the Recology project. And I think that it's very important that we pay attention to some of those things that happened. So,
Ray and I met, but we just passed the bonds, so
okay.
what our meeting was about.
So then we had, moving on, we had a request from San Mateo County Supervisor Pine's office about a proclamation on the 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide of 1915, and I wanted to.
That's already passed. So they asked me to just take it off the agenda. I apologize for not mentioning that to you prior to the meeting.
Okay. I was going to bring it up because I wasn't sure that getting involved in international politics was something we wanted to do. And so I will be happy to take that off. And then we have, anyone else have any other written communications?
Well, we had two other letters, I think, from the Brisbane Dance Workshop regarding their thoughts on the library and the redoing of the community center. And also a letter from the Open Space and Ecology Committee.
I have not
Lot coverage
seen that
in the
one.
Brisbane Acres.
I have not seen the open space and
Oh, you haven't
ecology
seen that?
letter. I mean, it's in my packet, but I had not had a
Oh,
chance
okay.
to read
Well,
it.
it's a written communication, that's all.
Okay,
So we'll, both of these we'll be talking about in the future.
okay. And then,
I suggest May 13th for the planning commission, because I have a meeting on the 20th at Clay and I do, right? 20th of May,
May 13th for the planning commission.
which is next Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll be out of town on the 13th. I'm sorry about that, but I'm leaving on Wednesday, but I can meet on Tuesday. So, yeah,
I can do
the
Tuesday.
20th is fine for me, but it doesn't sound like it would work for.
Tuesday?
I can meet on the 12th.
Tuesday, May 12th. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I'm not free on Tuesday.
Monday?
Not Monday.
Okay.
Did staff have prospective dates for the planning commission application? Isn't that what we're?
Yes, in the staff report, I proposed Wednesday, May 13th, and, I'm sorry, now I got something wrong here. I guess it was Wednesday,
May 12th.
Tuesday, May 13th. I need to look at my calendar now.
It's Wednesday, May 13th, or Wednesday,
Okay.
May 20th.
Oh, okay,
On the
both
staff
two
report.
Wednesdays, yes, a week apart. So,
Either the 13th or the 20th of May work for me.
I'm not available on the 20th. I'm available on the 13th.
Yeah, I can't make the 13th, but I can make the 20th. That's why I proposed the 12th.
Yeah, I can't do the 12th.
Or the Monday, the 11th.
11th, we have a
Oh, we have a.
finance subcommittee. I have
Yeah, we have a meeting at
I have a
6.
meeting.
What about May 19th?
I can't do it on Tuesday.
Well, okay, so you have that meeting on Monday, the finance subcommittee. Can you postpone that to another date, or is that?
That's
We
not us.
we have consultants coming in that day.
We have consultants coming in.
And that's
Other stuff.
budgetary, and it's,
Right, and people are invited to attend that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
How about May 27th?
we've got North County Fire, I think. Or has that been changed?
That's been changed, that's in June.
Okay.
No, I think the fire thing is now in June.
Okay.
Yeah, June
I just never cleared it because the dates still were so up in the air. I,
Wednesday, May 27th?
I
It's okay with me.
can do that.
Cliff?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll probably be fine.
Larry?
It's fine. My parents arrive that day, but they'll be here for 2 weeks, so
2 weeks.
I'll see them plenty.
Okay?
What time?
Because we have 8, would you like to start a little bit earlier, like at 7 instead of 7:30? And we'll do every 15 minutes.
That's good. 7 p.m. is fine.
Sounds fine.
Okay. 7 PM. Okay. 7,
I can't get it to do it.
7 PM. Okay.
So with that, brings us to oral communications number 2. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak? Seeing no requests, I make,
moved.
with a motion to adjourn. Motion and a
Second.
second.
In
All those
memory.
in favor?
Aye.
In memory of,
Oh, yeah, memory of Bruce Balchon,
Bruce?
who was a city planner in the early 1980s. Was
he was a
quite
writer for the
involved in
Examiner, right?
planning for the marina.
Wasn't he a writer, reporter for the?
Same guy. Yep.
Yeah.